Greetings, everyone. The following transformational ceremony initiation was received by me in 1988. What you're listening to now is the introduction. The capstone transformation ceremony of PA-HANOK is given in the form of a guided visualization, yet its properties are very real and cohesive with our present realities. We will be applying the power of Egyptian archetypes for personal balancing and healing, as well as extending this focus on a planetary level to all facets of our world. Before we begin, an understanding of the word archetype as it is applied within this ceremony should be identified. In Webster's dictionary, archetype is defined as an original pattern or model. Yet the word takes on a broader meaning in the psychology of inner mystery schools. The ancients of Egypt understood the dimensional quality of thought that once emitted from a sentient source, it became an indestructible vibration. They believed that the filaments or individual patternings of this vibration could become even stronger if compounded, that is to say, reinforced through repetition. Through ritual procedure, building thought upon thought in a specific direction of consciousness, an entity of powerful conduct could be formed. This entity was not a soul, but a composition of thought with a strong one-purpose sensitivity. Perhaps one purpose is a bit too constrained a term, as these thought compounds had layers to them, but all these layers had one access point and one common principle. It was this commonality that created the entities with which the Egyptian priests and priestesses worked in tandem. These archetypes, with the exception of Set, were all light-imbued in that they addressed spiritual values and universal codes of divine order. Set was a natural reflection of all darkness or imbalance and was thus not created by the Aton priesthood, but through entropy or chaos. The dark priesthood of the Amun, who sought to destroy the enlightened framework in that age, did employ Set as their destructive vehicle. Now, I want to pause in the reading of this material that I wrote in 1988 to say that I have greater insight about Set now, these many years later. I wouldn't say that it contradicts what I said exactly, but Set as a principle of chaos is part of the patterning of divine order, because order proceeds out of chaos. So I don't believe that it was so cut and dried to the Aton priests about what Set represented, as I state here. There's some truth to it, but it's a little more dimensional. To continue, we will be addressing and quickening the light-encoded archetypes of the Aton. There are natural universal archetypes created from the expression of angelic beings in divine order, into which all these Egyptian archetypes are co-merged. By linking and working with the Atonic logos, we can build our own prototypes for healing conductivity. It should be understood that these archetypes are responsive to the needs of the souls who summon them, as they are so programmed in the beginning of time and later reinforced within the culture frames of this world, such as Atlantean, Egyptian, Greek, etc. However, each archetype is responsive only to the focus it addresses, and will act only in a way that is in harmony with the universal codes of spiritual morality. We're referring here, of course, to these particular archetypes that we're embarking upon today. One other mention about the archetype should be made at this point. Most of the names for the Egyptian archetypes were taken from actual living beings who had exemplified the qualities of these morphic energy forms. An example is the archetype Thoth, which is separate from my benefactor or guide Thoth. The former is a thought compound attuned to an aspect of divine command, and the latter was and is a living entity. Yet both represent the same spiritual purpose or directive. As we work with these creative logos, it should be acknowledged that together they form a concert of building thought energy patterns. In the days of antiquity, initiates worked on one level as other units of initiates were working on levels below and above them. It was something like a round of eternal song, for much intoning was done to strengthen and direct the visualized manifestations. These radiant pictures were set upon the etheric wind in the solar boats of mind and spirit. Thus there was a continuous streaming forth of united thought forms, impacting and co-merging, constructing a pyramid of balance, healing, and abundance. There are two parts to this initiation. One is called the Barge of Sirius, and the other the Temple of Isis. At the end of each level within the Barge of Sirius, you will be asked to intone 2 syllables after me. These mantras will not continue into the Temple of Isis, and I was advised by my sources to dispense with the more powerful mantras of that temple. These progressed intonations are considered too intense for us to attempt. Well, as I'm reading this, I think I'm going to make a determination with those if I might not include them, or at least perhaps a version of them that is acceptable for us now in 2016. Remember, this was written in 1988. This concludes the introduction. Next begins the Barge of Sirius.